Hello everyone, welcome back to News and Stories unit number 2. 일본. Even in foods where you don't notice the oil, such as bread or just about any dessert you care to name, it is there. Okay, so we're looking at something you care to name. Use something you care to name to describe something that is true for any and all members of a certain category. It is similar in meaning to something you care to mention or something you care to think of. These things, like care to mention, care to think of, in this situation is similar to care to name. Okay? I'll give you an example. It's easier for the example. The guitarist can play just about any song you care to name. 이 사람은 기타 엄청 잘 쳐요. 엄청 잘 쳐요. 그래서 거의 모든 노래가 칠 수 있어요. 예를 들어서 조용필 바운스 칠 수 있어요. 그리고 트와이스 노래도 칠 수 있어요. So any song you care to name, any 제목. B. Tommy seems to know at least a few words of any language you care to name. Any language you care to name. 토미가 거의 모든 나라 언어 조금 알아요. 그래서 예를 들어서 토미가 한국어 조금 알아요. 아마 안녕하세요, 감사합니다 등등등등. 토미가 일본어 조금 알아요. 아사마세요, 기니치와. 토미가 영어로 알아요. Hello, nice to meet you. 중국어도 알아요. 니하오, 셰셰 등등등. 토미가 완벽하지 않는데 근데 조금만 알아요. At least a few words. Okay? Of any language you care to name. 2번. For the time being, it might be a good idea to cut back on fried food, both saving money and for your health's sake. For the time being is like 일단은, alright? Right now. For the time being, 일단은. Use for the time being to describe a situation that might not be permanent, but will continue at least in the future. Okay, in the near future. So 일단은, it's happening now and a little bit into the future, but not probably forever. 예를 들어서, I might move someday, but for the time being, I prefer to stay in my current apartment. 저는 제가 언젠가 이사 할 것 같아요. 근데 일단은 지금 이 아파트 너무 좋으니까 그냥 여기 있을 것 같아요. B. Juan got injured, so he won't be able to play soccer with us for the time being. Juan이 다쳤어. 당분간 우리랑 축구 못할 것 같아요. For the time being, he will not be able to play soccer. Okay, let's look at our language focus now. Our language focus quiz. 1번. You can find any you care to name in Okay, a good example, let's say you can find any kimchi you care to name in Korea. In other countries like Australia, they sell kimchi. 예를 들어서 호주에서 김치를 팔아요. 근데 다양한 거 많지 않는데 그냥 just like 양배추 kimchi, like that kind of kimchi. But in Korea, you can buy any kimchi you care to name, like let's say 파 kimchi or 백 kimchi or 등등등. There are any kimchi you care to name, you can buy here in Korea. 2번. Mo knows any more you care to name. Let's say Ben knows any K-pop song you care to name. So Ben가 K-pop 너무 좋아합니다. 그래서 모든 K-pop 송을 다 알아요. 제목이 다 알아요. So if you go, do you know Twice's TT song? He goes, oh, I know that song. I know any song you care to name. 모든 거 알아요. 3번. For the time being, I plan to continue. For the time being, remember, 일단은 I plan to continue to study English. 영어를 공부 계속 할 계획입니다. So, 지금은 영어 공부를 계속 할 계획이 있는데 나중에 모르겠지만 지금은 열심히 공부할 거예요. 4번. Someday, might, but for the time being, it's probably not going to happen. So someday, I might buy a big house. But for the time being, it's probably not going to happen. Okay, so moving on to the further discussion. Do you worry about restaurants using illegally recycled oil? Why or why not? Yes, I do, because I like to take care of my health, and illegally recycled oil sounds like it's very bad for your health. So I do worry a little bit, but I can't control that right now. But hopefully all the restaurants I go to are following the law. 2번. Do you think the government should provide support for restaurant owners if they cannot afford cooking oil? What sort of support should they receive? This is a difficult question. Yes, I think the government should always try and help restaurants, especially if they're having a hard time making money and it's not their fault, right? If it's not the restaurant's fault, I think the government should always help. Okay, so that wraps it up for unit number 2, and I'll see you next on unit number 3.
Edible.
Edible.
Drought.
Drought.
Sore.
Sore.
Halt.
Halt.
Consumption.
Consumption.
Legitimate.
Legitimate.